not changing when you're uncomfortable seems like an impossibility. Like, you have to keep up.
Welcome, Cristina. Thank you for being with us today. So I guess just if we could start off with you just giving us an idea of who you are, where you come from, what's your background, and what you've been up to recently.
Sure. So my name is Cristina Inestroza. I am a wife, a mom of two, a photographer, an Instagram content creator, a type A personality. I always say I'm life of the party. I really enjoy talking, and that's just kind of who I am, who I've always been. So currently for money, I create content on Instagram, and I'm a family photographer. So that's where we are for now. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you started off with photography and what sparked your interest moving your life in that direction?
Sure. So it kind of feels like a roller coaster that has got me here. So I went to Adelphi University, which, for if you don't know, it's a university here on Long Island. I had got my master's in secondary education with a focus on history. I went through the whole process. I student taught, I did the whole thing. And then out of school, the market was like really saturated. So I was subbing for about 2 years. I got what they call a permanent sub position, which is basically like you're not the formal teacher of the classroom, but the teacher's not there for months on end for maternity leave or family emergency, whatever. So I took over certain classrooms, and it just became very frustrating, feeling like I wasn't getting paid or benefits or being respected as I wanted as a teacher. And it just, unfortunately, turned out to not be what I wanted. What I went to school for turned out, like, the reality of it was not what I wanted.
Yeah. Like expectation versus reality.
Exactly. And in New York State, we currently follow, like, Common Core standards for education. I don't know if you've heard that term before. Yeah. And it was just, like, very difficult to write history lessons around this, and it became more of like issues with the other teachers or issues with the principal or issues with the parents, not my personal issues, but it just kind of felt like not a lot of teaching and just more of like reffing.
Yeah.
So randomly I was getting coffee one day, and the man in front of me heard me talking just with my friend or behind the counter, and he was like, "Are you looking for a job?" And I was like, "Hi," like
Maybe.
Kind of, maybe, not really. Like, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, let me introduce myself." He introduced himself, what he did. So he's an owner currently at the Hampton Popcorn Company. Okay. So basically he recruited me on a line in coffee to do marketing and sales for his, at that time, startup company. I accepted the job. After they offered me the job at my interview, I accepted it. During the interview, I was so stoked, ready to go. So I started a career in sales and marketing, and like my life took off. I met my now husband at this job.
Wow.
I was using everything that I'm good at, like, on the daily. So it was like really cool to feel like really fulfilled in so many ways at work. And then my husband proposed to me on Valentine's Day, February of 2016. Kind of corny, but he's really what he wanted, so it's fine.
Super cute.
On Valentine's Day, and then March, the month after February, we found out we were pregnant with our son. So, yeah. So I left that job, that sales and marketing job, almost 4 years ago to be a mom. Mm-hmm. And since being a mom for 4 years, I've done so many things. So I started a company called the Memory Market, which I think you guys know about. Basically, my dad and I work together, and we find reclaimed wood from barns and bars and all these places upstate. My dad like does the woodwork on them, and then I design them. I've been doing like family names and people's favorite words, and they're just kind of like little wooden tags that are meant to be like heirloom pieces that are cute.
Yeah. That's awesome. So how is that going?
It's okay.
Super creative, and just like, I just feel like that's something that when you're creating things like that, you just are probably pouring so much energy and heart into it to create something so beautiful.
It's okay. We're having some not problems with like selling them. It's more problems with the fact that we like really, really care about where our wood is from and where it's sourced. I feel like that's what makes it's special. Like, if I went to Home Depot and bought wood and I drew on it, it's not really that special. But the fact that the wood is 100 years old from a reclaimed barn in upstate New York, and I wrote your family name on it, like, that's cool. That's special.
Yeah.
So since COVID started, we haven't really been able to get to these areas where we'd find our wood. So my supply is really low. So I have some things that I've been doing with that, but I've always been kind of a photographer, just a love for photography and being creative in that way. So that's what I've been doing recently, some family photos. It's just hard because everyone's masked and they remove their mask for the photo and then we move to our next location with our masks back on. It's just different. Like, the whole process of everything that I would want to be doing now is so different because of the state of the world that we're in. So figuring it out.
I feel like that's like the common theme right now is that everyone has, because we're in quarantine, everyone has all this time to think and come up with these ideas, and it's so hard to execute so many of them.
Absolutely.
Because, like, you're coming up with all these things, but it's like, all right, well, I can't go there because I'm not allowed, or that place isn't open, or...
Exactly.
So it's tough to have, like, those creative ideas and moments during quarantine because
100%.
you can't do anything about them.
Yeah, so I feel like a little bit, like, on hold currently with, like, external work, but my job first and foremost is a mom. Even though I do all these other things, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Like, that's my occupation. So it's been 4 years of stay-at-home motherhood for me, and just, I mean, that hasn't changed because of coronavirus. We just have to figure out other places to go or things to do. So
yeah, it's more creative trying to figure out ways to be creative with your kids in your own home than when you can take them out and, you know, do more with them that's already set up for you. That's been challenging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. So I feel like you've done a lot of transitioning from here to there and doing different things. Do you feel like there's any one thing that's really carried you through all of these major transitions that's made it easier?
Yeah. So for me, getting to be creative, no matter what I'm doing, even like mothering creatively, is what like keeps my soul alive. Like, not to be cheesy, but like if I'm not being creative in some way, even if it's through like creative discussion, like just talking about something and then like spinning off, you know, like into what if this happens, like just creative ideas, or doing something physical, creative, painting, photography. I make these like activities for my kids, or I make fancy dinners. Like, just being creative is what has carried me through each and every obstacle that I've done. And I like that. Like, if I would look for a job that's as creative as I can make it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think being able to kind of put your vision on all these different things that you're doing throughout your life in any capacity is definitely fulfilling.
For sure.
Yeah.
So October 14th, 2016 was my last day that I ever formally worked. Maybe not my last day ever, but that's the last time in the past that I formally worked.
And that was at the marketing.
Yeah. A Hampton Popcorn. Yeah, so like going very quickly from life of the party, center of the room, like the one with the ideas, like the sales pitches and the, you know, the being creative, to it was winter. I had a newborn. I had no idea what I was doing, and no one was around. My husband works 6 days a week, 7 days a week sometimes, and it was just me and this little nugget that I had to keep alive. And I am almost embarrassed to say today, because I'm so crazy, wildly obsessed with being a mom and my kids. But I remember, like, maybe a few days into having my son home, I was like, I take it back. Like, this isn't what I want. Like, undo it.
Yeah.
Like, I need to go to sleep now. Like,
That's
I don't.
relatable.
Yeah.
Like same thing.
Yeah. Like.
Yep.
And then slowly it just got better and better and better, and to the point that we are now. But like, I think about those days that I'm like, this was a bad idea. Like, who did this to me? Like, what happened? Yeah. Like, what happened to me? Like, waking up, getting coffee, like heading off to work, having this like wonderful, fulfilled day, and now I'm home breastfeeding by myself. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like the biggest transition time in my life. And funnily enough, what made those days better was me planning photography sessions for my newborn. So every day we would wake up and I would pick his outfit and I would pick little props, and it would be like the highlight of my day. Like, we would do like bubble bath time, and I would lay him in his tub and fill it with bubbles, only a little bit of water, so, not, you know. And I would put like the little soaps around and take his picture, and it made every single day I did that like a great day.
Yeah.
So silly, but goes back to the point of, like, if I'm creative that day or, like, I did some type of expression that day, I would feel better.
Right.
And that kind of brought me out of it.
Where do you think you were in your life when you found that part of yourself? When you realized, like...
Birth.
Yeah? Yeah?
The creative side?
Yeah.
Yeah, birth. Yeah.
When do you feel that you realized that was what was going to get you through the tough times, though? Is there any, like, light bulb moment?
Yeah. Yeah, so the first time I ever... It kind of makes me sound, like, really privileged, but I had a really amazing birth through college. Like, amazing. I like, maybe not even one day of sorrow or sadness. Like, really, really, really amazing. My parents are amazing. My brothers are amazing. I always had great friends. I was on the swim team. Like, I was just always doing things that, like...
Brought joy?
Yeah, that I just liked. Like, I always had nice friends. Like, I wasn't not bitchy or catty. There was no bullying. There, like, we just were... I was just cool. Like, I was just, like... I won Social Butterfly in my high school yearbook. Like, I liked everyone. Everyone liked me. Like, the days were... whatever.
It was a good life.
Good life, yeah. So, I decided in college that I wanted to study abroad in Rome. And I was there for about 2 years. When I arrived there, like, I'm dramatic to say now because it worked out so well, but I felt like my life was ending. I was like, everyone I know isn't here. I don't know anyone. I'm across the world all by myself. Like, I'm not going to make it. Like, this is not okay. Like, I have to go home. Mm-hmm. So I remember I called my dad and I was like, Dad, like, this is not for me. I'm so sorry. I know you just spent all this money and just, like, you know, like...
Take me home.
Yeah, like, I'm in Rome. I'm in Rome now. Like, please take me home. So I remember him saying to me, like, you can come home. You come home if you want. Like, that's no problem. And I was like, I can.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
You're not going to make me stay
like,
here?
I can? That? Oh, really? And he was like, yeah, but, like, before you come home, like, take out your camera and just, like, do some walking around the city, like, take pictures. Like, I'm sure you'll be happy if you have those by the time you get home. I swear to God. I remember hanging up the phone, going to pick up my camera, taking a walk around my neighborhood and being like, I'm never fucking leaving. Like, I'm never leaving here. Like, I'm never leaving Rome. This is incredible. Like, look at these pictures I just took. Like, the markets and the people and the fountains and the cobblestones. Like, it was incredible. And I called him, like, hours later. I was like, thank you for reminding me to, like, be creative or, like, get in contact some way with that. So that's really the first time I ever can remember really using an expression or, like, a creative expression to, like, help me, like, ground myself. And then I've been doing it since then all the time, so.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's so important to find that thing that will get you through those times, because a lot of times that is what happens. When you try something new, immediately out of the gate, you're like, no, this is not what I know. This is not anything that I thought it was going to be. Like, if you think about really any large change in your life or anything big that you've gone through, like, usually right out of the gate, you're like, whoa,
this is not comfy.
I'm turning back.
Yeah, this is not comfy. Exactly.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. But then, you know, you have to know, like, yourself and what you need to do to get yourself comfortable in that situation. And for you, it's being creative.
Yeah. And it's funny because I love learning that about other people. Like, the question you just asked me of, like, what makes you, like, feel centered, like, what's helped you through all your transitions. Like, if someone said, like, oh, I love to sing, or I love music, or I love poetry, or I love exercising, or whatever, or cooking, I'm like, that's so cool. It's, like, one of the quickest ways to, like, get to know someone, like, really fast, I think.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I feel like knowing a small detail like that that's carried throughout many areas of somebody's life gives you such a good view into what they're doing or who they are.
What's yours, Melissa?
I was gonna say, I was like, I want to know yours.
As of late, it used to be exercise. It really did, but ever since becoming a mom, no, not exercise.
Well, you probably exercise throughout the day in a different way.
Yeah, just not. It's not in the gym and lifting weights and, you know, I don't know, all that traditional stuff I was doing before. Now it's more nature. I think that's, I can definitely say that. Even as a kid, like, just being able to go outside and get away from whatever it was that was bothering me that day, clear my head, and get that few minutes of fresh air really made a difference. And it still does today. I was feeling that this morning. I was in a total funk when I got up today. And then my kids were like, let's go outside, let's get some rain boots, let's do this, let's do that, let's do these things. And I was just not about it. And then I thought, if I go outside, maybe I'll feel better. Maybe it'll help. And it did.
Yeah.
Like it always does.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
For
my
sure.
thing. That's
Yeah.
my thing.
Yeah.
And
What
you?
about you?
Music.
Yeah.
It's specifically lyrics.
Okay.
And like just words and expression of words in like a clever way or interesting way.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Listening to new music is very difficult for me because I can't sing the words.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I need
yeah.
to
see what
like
you're
I need
saying.
to like know the words and like be able to like relate to it. It takes me a while to like be like, all right, I need to listen to new music now. And then, but yeah, definitely music, lyrics specifically.
Cool.
Just yeah, I can always find something that like I relate to in that moment, and that's what.
Like I'm not alone.
Yeah,
Like
almost
you feel
like-
sad too, or you feel happy too. Yeah.
Right, you're saying exactly how I feel. You must be like
Yeah,
in my head,
really
and that relating.
Have you ever
is-
tried to write a song?
When I was younger, yeah,
Okay.
I used to write some lyrics. It's interesting that you asked me that because I haven't done that in a long, long time.
Because I
Yeah.
feel like people who love music and the lyrics of music are probably really good at writing music.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a couple of songs when I was little, but yeah, I haven't done it in a long time. I like to write in general.
Yeah,
so, like words.
me too. That's cool.
But yeah, that's my thing.
Cool.
Awesome. I would love to hear a little bit more about your parenting habits and tips and tricks. I think that one of the most interesting parts about your story just now with Rome and your dad giving you that advice of stay there, just go outside, you can come home, it's fine. Like, that's such a beautiful thing for a parent to be able to do. Mm-hmm. And just you telling us that about your father, I think it says a lot about who he is as a father. And that was probably, I don't know if he's told you now today, like, was it a little trick? Like, oh, I know if she just goes out there, she's going to be all right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what do you see?
We've talked about that before. He was like, I knew just telling you, like, no big deal. Like, you can come home, like, don't feel, like, stuck. Don't feel pressure. Like, make sure you do something, like, fun now. Like, just to get your mind off of it. And he was right. But he was like, I just knew, like, you just needed a minute. Like,
Yeah.
and you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's cool. My dad's a cool guy. My parenting style now. Okay, so my son will be 4 in October, and my daughter turned 2 in March. So my kids are 16 months apart. People think they're twins all the time because they're very close together.
Really close.
Yeah. So when my son Frankie was 6 months old, I was pregnant again. So it was.
It didn't waste any time.
Yeah. So it was. And what's funny is we wanted to do that again. We wanted to do that a third time, like to have like 3 or 4 kids, just like pop, pop, pop. But the experience of bringing home a newborn with a 16-month-old in the house, I was like, we're waiting. Like, I can't do this again. Like, if you want me to be okay inside, like, we're waiting. And now I feel like we've waited so long, I think we're good with 2. Because, like, I'll get back to the parenting style. But because our life now is just, like, finally, like, not so easy, but, like, they both listen relatively.
Right.
They're both out of diapers. They both don't have bottles. We're not doing the like baby things anymore. They both sleep through the night. So it's just like
Nothing.
I want to do this again.
Thinking about going back to that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would love to, like, instead of dreaming about my 3rd child, as much of a blessing that would be, because I'm not saying I'm definitely not, but because it would be amazing. But I'm like, why don't we plan a Disney trip instead? Yeah. Like, let's think of what's next for us, like, moving forward, like, with our son and daughter, whatever, and be happy with that.
Yeah, you have so much to be content about right now with your family, so it's I think it's hard, and it's so different, as you highlighted, when you have another kid in the house, a small child. Like, same thing here. I was like, oh, this is really different than having one baby that you're like, you're boring. You sleep all the time. Now what do I do? You don't want to nurse?
Right,
like, what?
Right.
Now there's someone else to take care of too, and you never get any, like, downtime.
Yeah. It's really difficult, and I feel like most people don't get pregnant when their child is 6 months old. Like, that's just...
Right.
Because my girlfriend just had her 2nd baby, and her son is 5.
Okay.
So, like, I'm like, easy for you. Like, he's in kindergarten.
Good
like,
idea.
Yeah, like, good idea. Space them out. So I have 2 brothers, and we're all 5 years apart. So it's me, and then 5 years, and another 5 years. So my mom and dad, again, my dad's cool. They had that plan. So anyway, that's not our plan. So parenting them, I want to say that, like, day to day, it's, like, pretty easy. I don't know. I know that that's something like moms are like, well, fuck you. It's like pretty easy. They're both like my daughter's less chill than my son, but they're both like pretty chill. Like we wake up, I put cartoons on, we have breakfast together. Like I make them pancakes almost every day. So, and just like raising them has just been really cool and fun. I basically do it by myself, which isn't really that fun because my husband's always working. But he's always working so that I could be a stay-at-home parent. And that is like the crux of our family decision of like what we thought was important for parenting. I just didn't want like anyone else feeding my kid or disciplining my kid. Oh my God.
Scary and hard.
Yeah. So like I don't know, financial struggles aren't really the word, but like we're not saving like we want. We're not like planning vacations like we want, like because this period of our life, these few years until my daughter is in kindergarten, like full day school, I'm not going back to like conventional work until that started. It's just our decision. But that's what we decided worked best for our family. And it's funny because between me and my husband, it's almost better that he's like never around. Not better. I love him, obviously. But he's an immigrant and he has just like different, maybe like, I don't know, more old school parenting type decisions that I make. So it's kind of a struggle between us to constantly stay on the same page, and it's okay. But whenever he's around, I'm like, no, like honey, we're not teaching them that. Like,
that's not the rule. That's not how we respond to that.
Yeah. And I'm like, I am home teaching them not to play rough with each other, and then you come home and start throwing them around. Like, but it's, I mean, I enjoy the day-to-day kind of stuff, and not every day, but on the whole, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you think that there's anything about your energy or the way that you present yourself to your children that allows them to be a bit more chill? Do you feel like that's something you like intentionally were able to do, or they just kind of turn out that way? What do you think?
I don't think I have like any chill in me. I think I'm always like really, really up high. Like I feel very type A. Like that's how I describe myself. Like I'm always like ready to go. Like a very whatever, you can tell. Kind of personality. So I feel like they're like that too, and because we're all like that, we just like vibe together really well. Like we even though Corona's been happening, but like let's start like last summer, when I tell you we go out every single day, like we do something every single day together. So like by expressing our energies, or like I do lots of creative things with my kids, and I think they like that too. So I think that like they're chill because we're like always doing something together. I don't know, there's not a ton of like I'm bored, like right. And then they're bad, like you know, because rainy days, they're bad on rainy days. It's true, like not bad, but like they're fighting all day, they're wanting snacks all day. It's just like, but on a sunny day, we're outdoors, we're doing stuff, like we do sensory bins, we're swimming, like all these things. And I guess it's kind of just like through who I am, they're good. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're keeping them, because it's what you need to keep you going throughout the day. You're keeping them entertained and occupied and challenging them and, you know, introducing them to new things. So when there is downtime, they're like, yeah, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, they go to sleep hard at the end of every night, you know?
That's awesome.
Full days.
I want to touch on the transition from teaching to the marketing career. You said you were so excited to start the marketing, and it was something that let you express yourself and be you every day. What was it like leaving behind what you went to school for and what you expected out of your life, and that change?
Yeah, so the big heartache of that wasn't the time that I spent. It wasn't like the knowledge I got, because I'm still happy today. Like even as a mom, I love that I am a teacher. Like that's helped me. The money though, the goddamn money that was spent on that education that I am not using and I never want to use again, is like a real like punch in the gut, to pay whatever hundreds of dollars on student loan bills every month that I just don't use it. Like I don't use that like formal education. I use it daily, like in my mind and like the way I think and my thought processes. And so I guess it wasn't completely a waste. But yeah, the idea that like I spent money on this and it like didn't work out. Ooh.
Yeah.
Even today. And like nepotism like runs wild in all professions, but in teaching it like was like really just like hurt my heart that like I was making amazing dynamic lessons. Like I was waking up every day with like full throttle steam for my students. I loved going there, and all this bullshit that's happening with outside of the classroom, like I'll deal with it later, but I loved being with my students, but I couldn't get a job. And then the principal's daughter gets one right out of school. And I'm like, cool. Like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't. I just can't do it anymore. Like, I didn't work to have a 4.0 and work my ass off every night as a sub to make these lessons that, like, I put my whole heart into, hoping that someone would notice, like, how well I was doing. And hire me. And then to see this girl whose dad was a principal just be like, sure, 2nd grade, here's an opening for you. Like, the day she graduated. Yeah. And what's funny is like, doesn't everyone see that? Anyway.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
And that's the politics.
It's not fair. It's just not fair.
At all. And I think a lot of people deal with that in many professions.
Of course, it exists everywhere. Yeah.
It's difficult, and to like go off of your point, I think that I've heard so many people leaving their professions or leaving their employers for that reason. I was previously a recruiter before I became a stay-at-home mom, and that was one of my candidates' number one complaints. I can't tell you how many people I would interview during the day, and they're like, oh, well, there's a lot of promotions going on around me, and these people are not deserving of them, or this or that or the other thing, where they're in a situation where they're not being noticed.
Yeah.
So being able to just be a person in the world and be noticed and be recognized, like, that's a big deal.
For sure.
You don't need to get that satisfaction from an employer in the world that we live in today. So why are you going to make yourself angry about it sitting in that environment?
Exactly.
Right?
And that's why this new job, this sales and marketing job, I was like, this is like what I've waited for. Like, to have my bosses say, like, you're a breath of fresh air in this place. Like, you're awesome. Like, here's your own office. Here you go. Like, you're doing awesome. Yeah, you're doing awesome. And I honestly left that job with a bridge burned a little, simply because it was kind of open-ended if I was going to return after having a baby. Like, I wasn't sure how I would feel. Would I be able to put my son in daycare or even with my mom? And then that baby was born, and after the few days of wanting to return him,
you totally wanted to keep him.
I totally wanted to keep him, and I didn't want anyone else to watch him. So I basically was like, I'm not coming back. I basically said I'm not coming back around the time that I was going to come back. So it's not intentional, and I feel like anyone who is a parent would kind of understand that, like, I wasn't purposeful in, like, I'm not coming back to work, but I'm just never leaving. I'm never going to leave my son. Like, that's just...
Yeah.
Sorry. Popcorn. Popcorn has to wait.
Yeah. Do you think there was any particular thing that happened that made you be able to realize that so early on?
That I didn't want to go back?
Yeah. Was it just, like, your feelings with your son and when you had him there and you just knew, or?
Yeah, I think so. And maybe from some, like, irrational fears or rational fears that I was just, like, scared of, like, having to kill someone for hurting my son.
Yeah.
Like I was like, Mommy can't go to jail right now. No,
that's a fair point.
No, I mean, like, that's an exaggeration. I was just fearful of someone else watching my child for all of the rational and irrational reasons. Like, I didn't want my husband to hold him for even that long. Like, I was like, he's mine. Like, he came from me and threw me into this world, and I'm going to watch him. Yeah, but that's kind of joking, kind of serious. That's like really, that was the thing. Like, we actually went to different places, daycares.
Yeah, we did that too.
And saw them and interviewed the teachers, and there was nothing like, oh my God, so terrible about it, but like, for me, not for everyone, because they were filled with kids, so it's clearly right for some people, or most people, whatever. But the idea that there was like, high chair, crib, and the kids were just like plopped into individual, like, I was like, no, like, no, like, my son has his own high chair and his own crib in his own home. Like,
it does weird feeling when you see that, because it's not something, like you regularly see. Like, I mean, I don't know. First, you get a baby thrown at you, and they're like, here, go, care for this life in the world.
Yeah.
And then you go and you try to have an experience, vet different places and have an experience like that, and it's just like, oh my God, like...
Yeah.
It's like a baby factory.
Okay? Are they all gonna be all right? Or all what? How do you do this?
Yeah.
It's a very off-putting thing.
And then I remember even you expressing some concerns about, because Julian was so good.
Yeah.
That you're like, is he even gonna get attention?
Yeah, no one's gonna notice him. He's gonna be playing by himself all day.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
he's
on
good.
Jace. Oh, you will know. That boy's in the room.
Yeah.
No. Two different
But yeah, I
babies.
mean, when you have a kid that is very chill, like you have that fear of, are they even gonna pay attention to him? Like,
Yeah.
are they
Get what
gonna,
they
or is he
need?
just
Yeah.
gonna sit there because he doesn't cry or do anything?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That's really admirable, though, that you were able to wholeheartedly make that decision from the start, and even with the love of your career at the time, be able to say, okay, you know what, like, I'm a mom now, and that's it.
But it really makes me very sad, because I think there are so many moms who feel like I feel, and financially cannot make the decision that I made.
Yeah.
Like, it hurts me almost every day. Like, that thought of I wake up with my babies and we hang out, and sometimes I look at them and I'm like, oh, the moms whose kid is in crib, hydra.
Yeah.
Who wants to be home and can't, our current government system. Oh, don't get me started. But
that's a whole
other
other show.
thing.
A whole segment.
Yeah. I mean, very, very quickly, to my knowledge, we're the only first world country in the world who doesn't have maternity and paternity leaves for parents. So one of the women who worked with me at the sales and marketing job, who hates me now, is envious of me. I don't know what the human kind of word you want to put on it, but she returned to work 4 weeks after having her daughter. And I never returned to work to stay home. And it's crushes me that that 4-week-old baby, that blows my mind, went to a stranger. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
and something you said even in our first conversation about a puppy isn't allowed to leave
8
their
weeks.
mother until they're 8 weeks.
Yeah.
But a human baby
Yeah. 4
being
weeks is
put in a daycare is totally fine. At 4 weeks.
Technically, I think the law is you have 6 weeks for vaginal birth and 8 weeks for cesarean birth before you have to return to work without there being penalties on your job.
Right.
But
That's not feasible for
but
everybody, though.
4 weeks is all I cannot work.
Yeah.
I need money now. So my 4-week-old baby has to go back to work. And I mean, oh my God, I have to stop, because it opens up the jar of
emotions,
it opens up a lot of emotions, and why and how and what can be made better, and it just trickles down.
It's one of those things you want to be able to have a lot of power over, but it's so hard to I feel like in a mother's position it's just very hard to have an impact when you're just one mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, maybe the future will be different.
I've tried to do so many things in my own little way to help and use my voice in a positive way. I've talked to local government. I really wanted there to be more mom and children spaces. There are handicap spaces closer to anywhere, closer to the doors of any places they would want to go. I know, me personally, I always felt so much fear with my newborn and my 16-month-old, having to go to the supermarket. Now I'm parked far away. I have to get out the stroller, and then I have to get out my son, who I would put in first, and have it close to the car so that I can get out my daughter. And there's just no consideration for mothers and strollers. I even have stroller issues, and I always say, what if I was in a wheelchair? There's no access to this building. That's illegal.
Yeah.
And I just find myself always fighting the good fight, but in my home. There's not much more I can do, you know? So
Yeah.
and the idea, what you said, I'm just one mom. And I would think that all moms feel similar in that way, but again, speaking to a much bigger problem, the voices of those women who are not working, who are just home. People ask me all the time, oh, what did you or formally, on an application, occupation. I'm like,
Mom.
NA. No, I don't. Stay-at-home mom, homemaker. Is that what you want? Or my husband and I just recently bought a car, and they wanted I purchased the car and they wanted my annual income. And I put my husband's annual income because that's the annual income to my house. And I got denied to get the car because I have zero income.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, like, are you kidding? Like, do you know what I do? I'm a taxi, I'm a maid, I'm a cleaner, I'm a prostitute, I'm all of these things, and I'm getting paid zero money and I can't get a goddamn car. Like, I should be able to buy whatever.
No, I get that too.
Yeah, sorry.
Speaking in my soul.
Yeah, so it's just, like, frustrating. There's, like, I'm rambling now, but, yeah. There's lots of, like, things that are difficult for moms. The transitions between jobs are difficult. Once you decide, are you returning to work? Are you staying home? That's a difficult decision. That's wrought with judgment on both sides. You know, because I've talked to moms that are like, yeah, but, like, I want my children to see that, like, their mother is also really smart and capable of working, who can bring money into our home, who can, and I'm like, yeah, like, I want that too when they're 5.
Yeah.
Right.
So that to me is, like, the exception. These are, like, a few years. Like, they're going to see their mom's a badass. They're just not going to see that until they're 5.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, they probably see it now.
There's one manager that I work with who, she's a woman, and she has 2 kids. And I was talking to her one day. Basically, what she did when she had her kids, she was switching jobs. She was going to work where I work now. And she basically went in there and said, listen, I want to work here. I want this job. I know I'm good at what I do. My kids come first. Like, I don't care what happens. Like I get any kind of phone call. Like, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to come talk to you. Like, I'm just going to leave.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to be. And I thought that was so cool that the company too was willing to, because they knew her level of knowledge that they needed, and they were willing to work with her. I think that's what we need everywhere.
Yeah.
I think every place
nobody
should be like that.
is more competent than a mom. Like,
no.
like no matter what,
No.
matter what it is, and this is, like, another thing, like a recognition type thing. Like, I've never been so good at this sales and marketing job. I would be even more of a rock star. I would be a better teacher. Like, there's nothing now that I can't do better than I could have done before I was a mom. The multitasking and the quick thinking and the, like, prioritization, like, everything, I'm so much better now than I've ever been. And I feel like every mom is like that. Like, you don't, like, give birth to a child and not come out stronger on the other end. Like,
yeah.
Do you have any experiences with either of your births with any, like, postpartum depression or anything like that, where you had to really, like, remind yourself of those things that you just said, like, no, I'm a badass and I'm gonna get over this hump and figure this out for me and my kids?
I didn't have postpartum depression. Yeah. I know that's, like, a really another societal issue that we don't talk about enough. I feel like moms talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, on Instagram, on my Instagram page, or just with my friends. I don't really have a lot of friends, but my friends. Like, my mom, all the women I know, the issue and the topic of postpartum depression is something that's, like, constantly being brought up. But it seems like something that, like, nobody is really, like, doing anything about. There's, like, there may be resources out there, but, like, their accessibility may be difficult. Or, like, if you're this woman who I went back to work with, her son was 4 weeks old, and now she's back at work and she's feeling miserable, but she has to work, like, who helps her?
Yeah.
Like, what goes on? So I didn't personally have any of those feelings, but I certainly can empathize with people, with mothers who have those feelings. And, like, I mean, like, I would even like to be like, you can talk to me, like, I'll help you, I can be your resource, you know. Just the idea of, like, just having someone to talk to who would, like, understand, like, maybe that's all it would take sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing, like, I feel like, I'm not saying people who say they have postpartum depression do not. That's not at all what I'm saying. But, like, the idea that every single person who gives birth doesn't go through a crazy hormonal change, or, like, everybody has that. Mm-hmm. But to me, it just felt like I went on a roller coaster ride, and then the ride ended, and then I was, like, back to normal. You know, like, just my hormones readjusted. I cried a lot. I was super tired. Like, just kind of the normal feelings of like new motherhood. That's
what you would expect.
Yeah.
Right.
So like I always like tell people, like anyone that I would run into is just like give yourself a little time. I don't want to say like don't be too quick to say you have postpartum depression, because like what you're feeling right now is super normal. Everybody feels it. Everyone's tired. Everyone's body just I had 2 C-sections, so everyone's body just went through trauma and you're in recovery. So like, of course I had lots of feelings and emotions, but I feel like the point that you start to call it like postpartum depression is like when it lasts perhaps a little longer, or lingers longer, or it's like more intense than like I just need to go to sleep, like those kind of things.
I wish there was more people out there deciphering these things for women, because I definitely feel that too. Like so many people are just quick to self-diagnose, and they're like, oh my god. And I'm someone who's like all about nutrition and like holistic eating and the science behind that and what it can do for your emotions and all of that. And when people are quick to jump to self-diagnosing themselves and then they're going to a therapist like, I'm depressed, I have depression, like give me medications, you're taking yourself down a whole nother roller coaster ride.
Absolutely.
Like of issues that you can run into from that. So I don't know, it's definitely a topic I'd like to educate people on a little bit more, just from what I know and my own experience.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. I mean, that's what it is, right? That's like the whole idea, like helping each other and talking through like everything that's going on. And like I'm just like a slice. I'm just one mom of billions of moms, like literal with a B in the world. Like there's billions of us like across the world, and I just feel like it's so we can come from everywhere, like be every color, every religion, everything, but like being a mom to me is like a really like a bonding thing. I don't want to say I like every mom I meet, whatever, but just the idea that like you are a mom, like we have something shared.
Yeah, it's a big piece of our identity. Once you become a mom, you're never not going to be a mom anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it reshapes identities in a very drastic way. So, yeah.
If I was to like, I think about this often. I don't know who the psychologist is, but there's this concept of like you design a society without people in it. So like nobody exists in the society yet. So you invent roles and careers and occupations, and like everyone has their thing. And you do this with the notion that you don't know who you will be when you get dropped in. So like there's no slavery because you don't want to be a slave. There's no like extortion because you don't want to be extorted. There's no like whatever. You get the idea. There's no like hierarchy between males and females because you don't know if you're going to be a male or a female. Like there's no anything. All the bad things that like we don't want to happen. And I feel like if everyone kind of thought that way before they were put in, I feel like there would be more resources for mothers. Because I feel like a large group of those billions are men who are not mothers or women who don't have children. And I feel like it's really hard to design a society with laws like the maternity leave, paternity leave, when they're being made by people without those like
details to their life
in mind. Like they're not creating things like we haven't prioritized maternity leave. So to me, every single issue that we face in our entire world, in my opinion, we talk about this at my home. My dad thinks I'm crazy, but I think every single issue that we face as a society can be fixed if parents were able to stay home with their children. It's like crazy. I think there'd be better nutrition because I think parents would be cooking and not like going to McDonald's quick for
and
dinner.
like teaching their kid how to eat.
Correct. I think there would be like less racism because I think they'd be home like me teaching you. I know that racists can teach their children to be racist, whatever, but the idea that like a family unit is home. We're together. You're not like latchkey kid coming home from school by yourself. I help you with your homework. Pollution. Like I'm home to teach you these things. Like every single issue that we have, my God. Like as a world. When there's parents home with their children, I feel like those issues would like dissipate in 1 or 2 generations. That's my opinion, but
that's amazing.
It's a really interesting theory.
Yeah, and if you look at societies that have better maternity and paternity leave than America does, that's something to model off of right there.
Most of Europe.
That's proving your opinion
Yeah.
is truthful right
Yeah.
there, because look at those countries and
Yeah.
look at how they're thriving. Look at how clean they are.
Yeah.
And then look at America.
Yeah. There's
So-
also like a really big correlation into like religion and happiness. I'm not saying like don't be religious, because I believe in God, but like the less religious a group of people, the more happy they normally are. That's why third world countries, who are the poorest, are the most religious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like whatever. That's kind of an off topic, but again, like having parents at home, the idea of like spiritual leadership, like the idea of like there's so many paths it can go down, just that one idea, but you know, we have to be the ones making the laws, the rules, and that's not how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to be creating the next society, then you need to be able to lead it properly and grow it properly too. So
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense to me. Definitely resonates.
Everyone's personal transitions, though, very often mimic the transitions of like society around us. So like everyone now is going through transition because of Corona.
Yep.
You know, that's just like one thing. Or just like the civil rights movements that are happening in our country. Like everyone is forced to transition because of them. Like transition your thoughts, transition your actions, transition your heart, transition your learning. Like it's just like very crazy. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's our overall like goal here, is to discuss change in general, and change in your life, and going through different phases and different times, and whether it's careers or life, relationships, anything. So I mean, all of this is
Yeah.
related to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's so many things that I feel like no matter what change you're going through, whether it's becoming a new mom or getting married or getting a new job or something, there's like a common thread of that uncomfortable feeling that we were talking about before. So, I mean, no matter what exactly the change is that you're talking about, I feel like so many people can relate to it, even if they're coming at it from like a different phase or a different change in their life.
Yeah. And as you said that, it kind of struck me like, it's almost like the more uncomfortable you are, the more you need to change. Like, the more adapting you need. Like, if you're so uncomfortable, like, you need to, like, keep up. Like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because, like, you can't just be like, well, I'm not gonna work.
Yeah.
Like, forget this job. Like, you know, you have to, like, adapt more. Like, now you're a mom, like, I can't return you. Like, I have to adapt more. Mm-hmm. Our society is going through issues, like, let's learn and adapt more. Like, there's no, like... The idea of, like, not changing when you're uncomfortable seems like an impossibility. Like, you have to keep up.
Right, it's like one comes with the other.
Yeah.
You know, the uncomfortableness comes with change, and with the change comes uncomfortableness.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. You can't just like let it pass you by and let yourself go with the wind. Like, it's not going to carry you.
Right.
You're just going to stay right there, and everyone else and everything else is going to keep moving. That's
Absolutely.
what I think has been so interesting about COVID, is like literally everything is just like stopped. Like, and now we're trying to keep going and do all of this stuff, and it's forced us to slow down and turn into ourselves in different ways that people weren't before. So bringing it back to the creativity thing.
I was going to say, I was like right back to the creativity, because the creativity that's come out of COVID is like
amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's so cool. My favorite Instagram page, if you guys don't follow her, it's funny because I'm obsessed with the person I'm about to tell you about. Like, I dream about her. I talk about her daily. I want to meet her. I want to be her. I'm obsessed with her. She has no idea I exist. Like, she's just like, she doesn't have any idea. And it's funny because I like every single one of her pictures. I message her all the time. She probably thinks I'm a freak of the week. Like, I'm so weird. JamieBeck.co. Jamie Beck's a photographer, and she lives in Provence in France. She's an American that moved to France to like be creative and take pictures, and
that's awesome. My
God, her work, every single thing she does touches like the center of my soul, and I just wish she knew me so badly. And I'm like, I need to keep growing my Instagram page so I have more notoriety so that Jamie Beck will know me.
One track mind.
Yeah, no, like I swear, like I'd prefer to meet her over Beyonce. Like I'm obsessed with her. I think she's just like the coolest ever. I love her. But the point of her is that every day during her isolation in France, she did something called an isolation creation, and she did a new photograph every single day, and she named them day, I think, 1 to 50 something or 70 something, whenever they got
days.
out.
Yeah.
And like just her is one example of her. But just one example of the creativity that came out of it. Like, her stuff is beautiful, and then you see people on like balconies, like playing trumpet, like you saw that stuff?
Yeah, I saw that.
Or exercising, like long distance exercising, or the Zoom parties, all that stuff. It's so cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is
amazing.
crazy the different ideas that came out of it. I mean, when this
JamieBeck.co. Follow her. I love her.
we will. But like, even like when this first started, they did a virtual bar crawl.
So cool.
And they had, like, you could log into, I forget, I don't know if it was on Zoom or something, where they like live streaming performers.
Oh, that's cool.
So they had
really cool.
like, so you could sit at home, you could watch
drink
them
beers
perform,
and watch,
you could have your drinks, have your food.
See the other people around.
Yeah,
cool,
it's so
yeah.
cool. Just people just are, when you're forced to be, like, people, it comes out. Like, the creativity just flows.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's just like, it's my example that you can like see in the world, like in times of like transition, like being creative can get you through it. So like both of the things that you said, I think nature, just like even being in nature or seeing nature is creative. And obviously music and lyrics is super creative. Like that kind of centering of like that human center, like the creativity that's like inside everyone in some different way, I feel like showed through everyone being in quarantine.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting for Katie because she's like, I'm not a creative person. I don't do
I'm an
creative
accountant.
things. I am an accountant. And that is my identity. And that's how this was born from quarantine and being like, no.
This is creative.
Yeah. I can be
So
creative.
cool.
I had no idea that
I could create something off of this.
Yeah, I had no idea that I even wanted to do something like this.
Yeah.
You gave yourself the space and time to realize something and look at what it's turned into.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's crazy.
it's amazing.
So happy for you guys. This is so cool. I think I told you this on the phone, but like, do you know what Red Table Talk is?
Yes.
Yes.
The Jada Pinkett Smith thing.
Yep.
So when I first saw that, I was like, I need to do a Red Table Talk. I'm like, I need to get myself a red table and like do it, whatever. But I love this format. It's great. Podcasts are super fun.
Yeah, I like that, like, I think I said this on our call too, I don't like audiobooks because I don't want to be talked at. I want to like hear content in a conversational form, but I love to read, and that's not something I get to do much anymore as a mom because I can't sit down without like, Mommy, what's that? What's that? What are you doing?
Yeah, what's reading?
You know? Like,
Yeah. Do you love being an accountant?
Loaded question.
I don't want to know like your finances, but like to me, like I'm terrible at math, so not for me. But like the idea, like I don't think anybody likes being an accountant. I think they like that you make a lot of money as an accountant, or like the idea of like making the numbers perfect. Like I can see whatever. Like
there are definitely things that I like about it. Like you said, I like logic and I like things to add up, and I like, a bank reconciliation that ties to zero.
Ooh,
and you're like,
excited.
like when things like work like that, it's exciting. And there's a lot of client interactions. I like that part of it. I like working with the clients, working with my team, especially if I'm on an audit or something. But like the accounting profession,
being on an audit doesn't sound fun.
But like it's really about the people for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why it's so important, in my opinion, as an accountant. Like where you work is the most important thing. Like culture is important in any career, but in accounting, you really have to love the people you're around every day. Because first of all, during tax season, you're with them like 20 times more than you're with your own family.
Of course.
But
it's like any job. It's like I'll like sweep the streets if I'm doing it with cool people. Like that's the idea.
I mean, and it's a lot of people get into accounting because it's a good career.
Yeah.
It's always going to be there. It's not going anywhere. It's reliable. It's decent money. Like,
now, one of you had said you're going back to school. You're going back to school?
Yeah, I went back to school. I'm in it. I'm doing it. I've got And it's just the first month, so I have like 16 months left.
Oh, wow, okay. 4?
Yeah. I'm going for industrial and organizational psychology. So,
Okay.
like, that was my major dislike of being in the corporate world and being part of, like, that elevated professional workforce. I just, like, saw so many miserable people all the time. I was a big, like, person just there in the midst of the Manhattan rat race every morning, running around, living that commuter lifestyle, going back and forth from Long Island to the city.
Yeah, because happiness is not prioritized in corporate America.
No.
Nope.
But what's crazy to me is like anyone who knows anything about psychology of people is like when you're happy, you work better,
Exactly.
you eat better, you're more productive, you sleep better. Like the idea that we have like mass groups of people who are in jobs or in working who are just like miserable being there is just like, how is anyone supposed to come out of this like with not just vibes, but positive anything, yeah.
Like, how are you supposed to create good work when you're in a miserable environment?
Yeah.
You're not. You're creating mediocre work so you can get your paycheck.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
the truth.
one of the most common things I hear around my office all day, and this is nothing about, like, my employer specifically, you hear it everywhere that I've been in accounting. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
You literally walk into anyone's office and they're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what a horrible, like, feeling to have all the time.
Who wants to go through their life every day with major pieces of their day being like, I don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah.
Then don't do it anymore. Like, just go
Yeah.
do something that you love.
Yeah,
You know,
it's-
you need to give yourself that time and space. That's why I chose industrial organizational psychology, because I would love to be able to step into workforces and change that and work for maybe like a consulting firm or something, so I could touch a lot of different companies and change that for a lot of different people effectively.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I just don't like seeing so many people around us so miserable, and it's so needed to be able to, you know, thrive and be happy in your workforce so that you can have the good family dynamic that
100%.
you want. Especially here, like it's such. It's
Here
such
meaning America?
well, here meaning Long Island.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking more. I mean, yes, you can relate this back to America,
Because
but
I feel like
just
this is a real
think-
American issue. I don't think a lot of other countries have these kind of like rat race issues like we
Oh
do.
no, yeah. The only place I really hear that is like Brazil, but they still take the time to wind down and go and sit and have coffee together, and really like that's a part of their culture and their day. In the morning, go and do this, and the afternoon you stop to go and do this. Like that doesn't happen here. But I was thinking more so as far as New York and Long Island, like there's so much pressure to succeed financially here to be able to
You
provide
have
for your
to
family.
succeed financially here. You
Yeah,
have to. You
like
can't
you
live
literally
here.
can't live here.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
we're in one of the most expensive places in this country. So being able to go to work every day and love what you do and feel happy about what you do while you're sustaining your family, if I could have an effect on that, that would be great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, specifically New York is so known for that. I mean, time poor to the max. Like,
Yeah.
people are... What's even just crazy to me is, like, people that are constantly running around, like, eating food.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't have
you're
time to
not even,
sit.
like, taking a time to, like, sit for 5 minutes and
Yeah.
eat your food. Like,
Yeah.
whether it's in the car, you're going through a drive-thru, or you're, like, grabbing something if you're in the city, you're, like, walking around eating food. Like,
Yeah.
you can't even sit to
Yeah.
eat your lunch or your dinner or something.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's an American issue, but very specifically New York, maybe like California, parts, whatever.
Right.
But, yeah, the rat race is not fun. Not
Yeah.
fun. Like, I personally don't want to be part of it. Like,
No. Being able to do your work with ease is just so much better.
yeah, I mean, like, I just want to be able to work happy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, even if I'm stressed, like, I just want to, like, I don't know, it's kind of, it seems like a magic thing that would happen, but, like, I don't want to work anywhere or for anyone that I'm just not going to be happy every day.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I
absolutely.
don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
Like, I'm just going to go home. Like,
I think that so many people are waking up to that now too. Not even just like with COVID, but just with the world being so much smaller of a place through social media now. That you see other people and you're like, wow, that person looks like they're chilling and they're happy and they're making money. But also you got to remember, you know, that's just the highlight reel of somebody's life. Like you're not seeing all the hard things and all of that all
Yeah.
the time unless
Yeah.
it's a very real feed. But like, I don't know, just being able to be exposed to that in ways that we weren't in prior generations and things like that. I think it definitely makes a difference in what people are willing to go for and what people are willing to recognize as their goals in life and be like, you know what, I'm going to take a risk. I do want that. I do want to like have something be different for me.
A lot of people, I feel like most people I know didn't grow up with parents who like had jobs that they loved.
Yeah.
Like, like so much of the generation above us, they went to work because they had to go to work. Yeah. They made their money, and, like, if they hated their job, whatever. They did it for 40 years, and then they retired.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what they did. That was there were other they fulfilled themselves through other things in their life. Their career was
just
to make
money, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
being
now...
able to change the lens on that is what we need to be able to do now.
I feel like this generation is so much, like, craving that fulfillment in all different parts of their life. Like, they want their career to be fulfilling. They want their relationships to be fulfilling. They want their home life to be fulfilling.
Yeah.
We need that more so in every aspect, and I think it's healthier that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. People are just overall happier.
This little bit of conversation, like, really overwhelms me because I have, like, this, like, fear that, like, that's not going to happen for me, maybe. I don't know, like, if that makes sense, but, like...
No, it does.
So I said earlier, my husband's an immigrant. He's from Honduras. And in February, before the whole coronavirus thing happened, we went to Honduras and I saw where he's from. And, like, the essence of their life there is so drastically different than the essence of ours, regardless of money. Because, yes, a big part of what happens there is because everyone's very poor. But, like, the idea that, like, they wake up with their family, they all live together, like all the families together. They wake up, they have coffee, they kind of chill. They eat that chicken and that mango and those beans, like right from the earth. They just hang out all day. Like there's something called blue zones in the world, and blue zones are areas where people live to be much older than other parts of the world. Okay. So, like, in where Tomas is from, there's a blue zone where, like, the average person's, like, 110. Because their days are filled with, like, nutritious, unprocessed garbage food, and they're really happy, and they have not many stressors. And it's just, everyone's really old. They live to be really old. And, like, we're not going to move to Honduras, but, like, the idea that life exists, like, the feeling of, like, me and my family could live on our land, like, on our farm. Like, we could have crops and animals, and, like, I can take pictures, and, like, it's kind of unrealistic. But the idea that, like, I don't have to live this way, but, like, I'm here already, like, kind of that stuck feeling is something like that, like, keeps me up. Like, the idea that, like, I want to be fulfilled in all of my areas, and I just don't know, that can't happen here on Long Island for me. I personally don't think, because of how much money it takes to live on Long Island.
Yeah.
Like, I have to, like, go get a corporate job. Yeah. My husband makes amazing money. He's a welder in the city. Not bragging. I'm just saying, like, we both have to make amazing money, like, for us to, like, have children and a home and a life here, where, like, if we move to, like, Austin, I want my farmhouse and chickens, like, and he can keep welding, and I'll just keep staying home. Yeah. Like, not because I don't want to work, but, like, I'll make a dinner every night. Like, I'll take care of the house, I'll take care of the children, and the 4 dogs that I want us to have, and, like, you know, all these things, like, it kind of stresses me out that I may not be able to have my deepest dreams come to reality here on Long Island.
I think that's a struggle for a lot of people here, especially within our generation, because, like you were highlighting prior, we didn't have any examples of anybody showing us that it's possible to live your fairy tale dream life. Like, not fairy tale, but, like, the dream that could actually be fulfilled.
Yeah, like, you have to wake up and go to work. You have to put food on the table for your family. Like, and if you don't get to live your dream life, sorry, like, that's your priority. Yeah. Not do what makes you happy. Like, chase that. And I'm not saying my parents didn't tell me that, but it's just like,
it just doesn't feel realistic when you live in this environment.
Yeah, the practicality of it. Yeah.
And I mean, my parents told me the same thing. Like, you know, follow your dreams. You know, everyone tells you that, right? Yeah. But if you're not leading by example, and I don't have an example, gonna pay my bills, right? Yeah. It's like all I have is examples of people who are miserable in their jobs and stay there because they need the money.
Yeah.
And there's, like, no other option.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, it's like, and that's what we're trying, like, part of what we're trying to show people.
Yeah.
Is,
like, me and my husband talk about this all the time. Like, my husband's a farmer. He grew up being a farmer. Like, they had cattle, they lived on a ranch, like, he took care of crops and animals, and now he's a welder. That just makes me sad. Like, that's not, like, he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want him to be a welder on a skyscraper. Like, that's not what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Like, and of course I love being a stay-at-home mom, but I'm like, when my kids go back to school, like, I don't want to be in sales for Williams-Sonoma. Like, that's not what I want.
There's just so many options out there, and it's just, I think it becomes a lot more difficult to envision how to create your dream life and the things that you want to do when, again, you don't really have many examples of people, like, doing that in creative ways. But that's what I love so much about podcasts and social media and all of this stuff. It's like, you can get exposure to people who are doing that, and then you just got to wrap your head, if you can see it, then you just have to wrap your head around how you can physically do that in your life and bring that to your world. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
And obviously we don't know all of these people's full situations that you see on social media or listen to on a podcast or whatever. But if you have some really good examples to look at, and it can give you a little bit more hope, then you're that much more likely to fulfill the dream.
Yeah. Right. And everything I've said, I'm no matter, like, how much I want to, like, live a dream or whatever, any of us, we're also coming at it from a place that, like, the idea that I could potentially live my dream is an option for me, and it's not an option for so many people. Like, not bragging, but, like, my parents have money. Like there's such thing as, like, intergenerational wealth. Like, the idea that, like, I will probably be okay for the rest of my life because my parents are okay now, my children, etc. Like, the idea that, like, this woman, I keep talking about this woman who had to go back to work. Her dreams aren't fulfilled. Yeah. Her parents didn't give her, I'm not saying my parents gave me anything. They didn't give, they're currently not giving me anything and whatever. I love them, but I'm just trying to get to the point. The idea that there's people, like, all over the world that, like, what do I want is not an option.
Right.
Yeah.
Not everyone, like, even the very idea that we can sit here and talk about dreams that we want, like, they could happen, is so privileged.
Yeah.
You know, like, not everyone can have these, like, oh, but I want a farm and 4 dogs. Like, no, sorry. Like, you have to go to work today.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't get anything from your parents or their parents or their parents. Like, it's your job to make things better. Like, look where you live, look where you are. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, there are so many people that face that. They just, like, don't have anyone helping them, and it's not that the people in their life don't want to help them. They're just incapable of helping them because they don't have anything else to give. But I think, you know, just, I don't know, when you're in situations like that, being able to, like, have that gratitude and realize, like, you could be that light and change that for those people that wish that they could help you. You could help them and help yourself and help the future generation.
For sure.
And everybody
I hope
else.
so. I hope that I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just being able to have the vision and believe it. That's the first step.
Yeah. I want a farm, and I'm going to hire all of the poor people who want a farm too. And we can all live together on one big farm.
Everyone will be happy. It'll be a peaceful, wonderful,
No, but it's true.
place.
It's true, though. Like, generational wealth is, like, a real thing. And the idea of, like, my parents were poor, so we live in a poor neighborhood. And our schools are poor and not funded well. And we live in a food desert, so I'm unhealthy and uneducated. And my parents don't know any better. And now I work at McDonald's. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just using an example. Like, the idea that, like, their dreams are not realized because, like, there's no...
It's all about your exposure.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not exposed to something that's allowing you to heighten your dream, then you're not going to heighten your dream. You're going to just do the best that you can within the space that you're in.
Yeah, because you don't even know what's out there.
Yeah.
To have that dream.
Yeah.
And then I go back to moms that live in those places, like, how hard that must be.
Yeah.
Like, because now you're here, like, wanting to make everything better for yourself and your current family and just hoping that your child has more opportunities than you did. Just the idea that, like, I can say, oh, this is what I want, this is what I hope I can do, is privileged. And I just, like, wanted to, like, recognize it as we're talking. Like, the idea that, like, not everyone even gets to verbalize their dreams.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been so fulfilling and so nice to just be able to do this. I'm so grateful, like, to my family being able to handle the crazy circus I have at home, so that I can take the time to do this for us.
It's funny. Like, as I was leaving, I was like, babe, like, watch the kids, okay? And he's like, duh. Like, what the hell? Like,
what do you think I'm gonna do?
The same thing. I'm like, okay, can you come home at this time so like I can show you this, that, and the other thing, and like make sure like you, and he's like, I know how to watch my kids.
Yeah. I'm like, no, like blow on the food, like so, like take, if it's warm, and he's like, I know, like what's wrong? It's just because I don't have very many opportunities where I'm not with my kids, so stuff like this I'm really into. I like it sometimes. Yeah. And like, I said before that like I love moms, like I just feel like motherhood is a bonding thing, but like in truth, like after I became a mom, I found that like I like lost everyone who I thought was my friend, either because they weren't a mom and like we just couldn't
relate.
Yeah, like one of my friends was like upset that like I couldn't come to her 30th birthday, but I didn't go because my daughter Rosie got vaccinations that day and she had a fever. And I'm like, I can't come to your party. Like, and she's like, just come for a little bit. Just come for a little bit. And I'm like, not even for a minute am I leaving her. Like, and she was like, you just can't prioritize me anymore. Like, we're done being friends. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, fine.
That's cool. You don't need to be my priority.
And then like even among moms, it's funny. I started a Long Island moms group, just a chat group on Instagram, like maybe 2 years ago ish. And since working to start that group, currently like 7 people in the group have me blocked, which is hysterical because I'm the nicest. But
That's
anyway,
so weird.
and the reason they have me blocked is and maybe I did something wrong, I'll admit it, but in the chat they were talking about going on like a girls' week-long trip. They wanted to go somewhere, I don't know, California vineyards, Miami, France. These women were talking about going all those places. Okay,
that's far.
And like honestly, the very idea that like groups of mothers were talking about like leaving their husband and children for like weeks to go someplace. We don't know each other. We're just in a Long Island moms group, like on like
it's not like you're lifelong friends and you like
So I mean you can read it if you have spare time, but I like wrote this post that like I want to be with my husband and children. I would never go on a girls' weekend trip with, like, if I have a time to do a weekend trip, I'm going with my husband and kids. Like, I'm not going away with, like, my girls. Like, that time is over for me. It's over. Yeah. Like, been there, done everything. And all of these moms took, like, real personal offense to this post. Basically, they said that I called them a bad mom. And that's not what I said.
No, it's just your experience is different. What you would do,
whatever,
is different.
It's like me saying, like,
it's like a PSA. By the way, I'm not going on any girls' trips with anybody. This is what I want for my life.
But on the heels of their conversation, I wrote this post. Right. So
timing was off.
Yeah, whatever. But like, it's just funny to me because it's like me saying, like, I love to wake up early and start my day fresh, and you saying to me, just because I sleep late doesn't make me a bad mom. It's like, I didn't say that. I didn't say anything about you.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like it's very easy for people to get offended by stuff like that when they're looking for something to get offended about, and they have that like way of thinking in their mind of like, oh, she's calling me out. Oh my God.
Well, I feel like it's like a little bit of insecurity.
That's exactly right. I didn't call you a bad mom. I'm just saying, like, I would never go on a trip. I don't need wine at the end of every one of my days. Like, I don't need those things. Like, and because of where my husband's from, like, if you would have known me before him, I'm totally different today. Like, the idea that, like, I'm constantly circling back to, like, I'm privileged to say that. I'm privileged to think that. Because he grew up with nothing. Like, someone would say, like, well, I grew up really poor too. I'm like, no, third world country poor isn't America poor.
Not at all.
Like, you can't compare. It's like saying, like, I had a hard life too. It's like, yes, but you're white, so, like, that part of your life wasn't hard. You know what I'm saying? No, whatever. So I say my husband grew up with nothing, and they're like, yeah, I grew up really poor too. I'm like, no, you didn't. You grew up rich.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, you were rich. Yeah. Like, anyway, because, like, I've been there. born on dirt. Like, that's, like,
Literal.
Like, not in a hospital. Like, no clothes, no diapers, like, no food, barely any water. Like, difficult childhood. So, like, the idea that, like, I'm married to someone who, like, crossed the world to, like, get here, I just see, like, in every example, like, that I'm just, like, really privileged to even be invited on a podcast. Like, that's awesome. It's, like, really cool.
It humbles you. You're like, whoa, wait, like...
Yeah.
Just being able, I don't know, just being able to have exposure in any capacity. Like, I can only imagine how heightened it is for you being married to somebody who has had that life.
Yeah.
But being able to see it physically, like, I just feel like people really need to travel and not make points of traveling for fun and joy and, like, cool things, but travel for education. So, like, educate your children. Like, bring them to the poor places. Bring them here. Bring them there.
I cannot wait. I could cry. I cannot wait to take my kids there. Like,
it's going to give them so much.
Like, oh my God, I can't even say it. The kids there have nothing. It's, like, really sad to, like, I went there and, like, babies with no food. Like, my kids were home, like...
Yeah. It's very hard.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I can relate. I spent like 3 weeks in college in India. It was on a mission trip, and it was in Kolkata, and there's visions now, like, it's just been coming up a lot lately, because my 7-month-old is starting to, like, toddle a bit. He's crawling, starting to try to, like, walk a little bit now, and his brother he's 2, he tries to, like, drag him by his hand. He's like, and he's too fast. And I saw things like that there, but no parents. Like,
yeah, like the 2-year-old is watching the baby,
taking care of babies.
Yeah, that happens, like, there too. Yeah,
literally dragging their sibling down the street with them, knowing to take care of the infant, and just things like that.
Yeah, because the poverty is so intense that, like, both parents have to work all day and night.
Yeah.
And there's no access to birth control or knowledge about, like, sex education. Yeah. Like, it's just, like...
Yeah. Or it's frowned upon and you're killed if you're found taking it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and never mind, like, about access to... However you feel about abortions, like, there's no access to them.
To any of
so,
that,
like, these Indian women could have 13 children... And, like, can't take care of any of them because there's no, like... I'm not saying then they need abortions. I'm just saying, like, they need as many options to, like, make their...
Yeah. They don't have a choice. They don't have to make the choice.
Yeah. So, without crying, sorry. Like, it's, like, devastating, like, on my heart. Like, I'll never unsee, like, hungry children, like, looking through the garbage. I'll never unsee it.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those moments in your life that you... never really forget. Well, thank you, Cristina, for being here today, and letting us get to know you and being so vulnerable and open. We really appreciate it.
I think this was so good.
Thank you so much. Like, just the idea of, like, having adult conversation is, like...
so nice.
It means everything to me. It means everything to me. I was at the Bean one time, and I was talking to this couple. At the end of the conversation... I'm really not that much of a crier. I don't like that I cry on tape, but I was, like, bawling at the end of our conversation, and the guy was like, "Are you okay? Like, why are you crying?" I was like, "I never talked to anybody," and he was like, "Oh my God, like, okay, like, I'm gonna go now. Like, you're odd. Like, we just had an hour-long conversation, and I didn't know you were odd, and now I know you're odd, so I have to leave." No, but, like, yeah, I mean, it can be really isolating. Like, I'm home with a 2-year-old and 3-year-old. Like, I watch Blippi all day long, and, like, you know, I don't...
Yeah, no, I feel like we need that. It helps me, like, refuel so I can go home to them and be ready to, like, be with them 100% again.
Yeah, for sure.
It's draining after a while. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
Can you just let us know where people can find you?
Yes. Very excited to tell you that. So I have an Instagram account. It's This Little Love Affair. And that's really it. I don't have a Facebook or a blog or anything, just using Instagram for now. My name's Cristina. And I would love to see you there.
Awesome. And you have anything for a memory market? It's all linked to your
Everything
regular
is in the
profile,
bio,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here with us today, Cristina. It's been such a pleasure. This has been such a great conversation.
Thank you, yes.
And I hope so many people gain as much from this as we did. This was great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.